Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our 15 cybersecurity defense strategies. We will get the meeting started here in about 5 minutes. Please, if you have any questions or anything that come up during the meeting, you can use the Q&A or the chat to hit us up, and Carly will be helping us run those as they come in. These are monthly. We typically have these every month, and this month we are talking about the 15 cybersecurity defense strategies. So in about 4 minutes, we'll go ahead and kick things off. Okay, well, it looks like we have everyone that's going to join today. I want to thank everyone who is watching this live and those that you might watch this later. We really appreciate you joining us to hear about the 15 cybersecurity defense strategies and how they can help protect you. Cyber attacks are increasing daily, and we just want to make sure people are prepared. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are. We're Strategic Information Resources. We're a managed service provider here in the Southern California area. We have clients all over the nation, though. And we try to help people and businesses from getting hacked. We like to say we protect your people and your profits from hackers. So we're a bunch of solutionists. There's about 20 that work with me here at Strategic Information Resources, and we like to make tech work. And communication is really the foundation of everything that we do. So we'll be talking about the 15 ways or 15 items that you can employ in your business to help protect yourself from hackers. We're not going to go through a lot of preamble. We're going to jump into these right away. We don't want to take anybody's time, any more time than we have to. So let's go ahead and kick this off. Our first and probably one of the most critical things that you can do or any business can do for protecting your business is having backups. This one seems obvious, and yet we oftentimes run into situations where backups are not tested or they weren't being watched carefully, and you end up with some amount of data loss. But what's important with backups is you really have to take the time to find out what's critical data within your organization so that you know what to back up, when to back it up, and how often it should be backed up. We suggest that most organizations back up at least every 24 hours, and you should use a 3-tier approach where you back up to local drive, to an offsite storage of some type, and then also again into the cloud so that you have your data in 3 separate places. Some of these statistics are really, kind of just jaw-dropping, right? 60% of businesses fail without backup. So imagine if you had a backup failure and then some kind of attack from a hacker. If your backups aren't good or you're not sure they're good, it's very possible, possibly likely, that you would go out of business, right? And what we don't want is for that to happen to anybody. And the other thing that we often see is that people just aren't testing their backups, right? You have to do that regularly. And then finally, the other stat on here is media is designed to fail. It is, I know everybody thinks those hard drives last forever and tapes last forever, but the reality is they don't, and you need to refresh that media every once in a while to make sure that it's safe and secure. The next thing, and again, something that's pretty obvious, is protecting against incoming spam. 91% of cyber attacks start with some kind of phishing email. And while spam isn't the do-all end-all for every single phishing email, it does filter a lot of the noise that we see as cybersecurity professionals from getting to your inbox and you accidentally clicking on something. So, make sure your emails, who your emails are coming from. Oftentimes it's really easy to get lost in some of the details in Outlook and Google and things like that, where you don't see the actual recipient or sender. But take a second, make sure, is that really from your trusted contact? Did that really come from them? Oftentimes it can be spoofed and used in a way to garner that trust so that you end up clicking on something. We tell everybody always verify links in your emails. Make sure that they're going where you think they're going. Attachments are another scary place that you have to be careful. It's really, really easy for an attachment to get past all the other defenses that are maybe on your workstation because you clicked it and you initiated a process. We get this one all the time, but shipping companies won't email you to verify your identity ever. It's just not something they do. They know who you are. They might email you and say, hey, we're expecting you to reach out to us, or that there's an incoming package, but they're very seldom are they looking for a response from you. And if they were, if let's say UPS said, hey, you have a package waiting at the UPS offices, you need to call us, do not call that number in the email. Go to the UPS website and conduct your business from a known good number. Email oftentimes has bad actors sitting on phones in other countries to pretend that they are employees of UPS and that they can manage and take care of your package needs. We tell this to all of our clients as well, is like, you should be verifying any banking information changes, any real financial data changes that are happening through email should be verified with a phone call to a known good contact, never the contact number that's within the email itself. And, I suspect that everybody knows this these days, but there aren't any real great opportunities coming from a prince in Nigeria. So if something sounds too good to be true, chances are it is. The best thing you can do when it comes to spam is to just slow down, right? Often we find that people are just caught up in their day-to-day and they're moving fast and they're not really paying attention. Email is always in front of us. A lot of us use it like a to-do list, and we're just kind of going through the motions and clicking on things. Take a minute, slow down, look, and make sure that it is what you intend to click on, respond to, or be a part of in that email response. So passwords. We always struggle with this one, right? Passwords are so easily cracked. About 90% of the passwords on the planet can be hacked in less than an hour. Um, and 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 that is only going to get easier and easier as time goes on, right? 60% of passwords are used across multiple accounts. So if I signed into my bank and used one password, it's common that I would sign into my email with possibly the same password. The issue with that is you have some cross-contamination. So if your email got hacked and they found out your password, now they have that password to your bank. So it's an exercise of, when you hear about these breaches and your contact information and or logon information was shared to the dark web, a lot of times you can't just change one password. You have to change a whole slew of them all at the same time because they were all using the same password. About 59% of people try to remember their passwords. We oftentimes don't recommend this. We suggest some kind of password manager so that you're not having to remember those things. Plus, we want those passwords to be unique passwords for each account that you sign on to, random if possible, and complex. So we want that to include at least one uppercase character, one lowercase character, a number, and a special character. They should be 13 characters in length or longer, and they should be changed often. As you can see there, that last statistic of 44% of passwords are never reset or changed. And we find this even with default passwords on equipment and stuff that is shipped from AT&T or Netgear or things like that that people put in their homes and their businesses. It'll have a default password sitting on it. There is documentation on the web that tells everyone what that default password is. So you always want those passwords to be changed. So firewalls are kind of bread and butter, block and tackle is what we like to say, of keeping bad guys out of your system. Um, it's really a basic kind of tenet of how we protect the edge of your network in your office. Um, and most ISP routers provide access to internal networks without you knowing it. So when AT&T comes out to set up your set up your internet service, and they put one of their routers in, oftentimes there's hooks and things and vulnerabilities that people can get around to get inside your network without you knowing. What we always suggest is having a business class, business grade firewall put in between your business and the internet so that you are sure you're in control of anything coming in and out of your network. And we know that this has changed, right? Because a lot of us are working from home and aren't necessarily having anything going on there in the office, right? There's less of us in the office. So what we find is that you should be employing some kind of firewall on your devices as well as against the network. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a future slide. So computer updates. I know no one likes this. Everyone talks about update Microsoft's Update Tuesday and how disruptive it can kind of be. But honestly, there are so many different vulnerabilities and exploits that are mostly preventable because of updates happening, that it's kind of gets to a point of it being silly to not do them. So right now in the world, there are 171,418 vulnerabilities in current software and hardware that are easily exploitable. These are rated on something called the CVSS scale, and it goes from 0 to 10. Anything above a 7 is considered kind of critical and something that you should pay close attention to. Most of those types of exploits are very, very commonly remediated by the vendors very quickly after they're discovered. So you waiting kind of a requisite number of days to install those updates means that you're in jeopardy of being hacked from those exploits and updates. So it's always good to update as soon as you possibly can with as minimal business risk as possible. 76% of all applications contain one or more security flaws. I bet that number is actually quite a bit higher because when you're developing software, oftentimes security is taken into account after software is developed, and you don't realize I put test mechanisms and various other backdoors in there to make those make the software work and test it, and then somebody forgets to remove it, right? So it's not uncommon to see those kinds of things pop up inside of our known software, including Microsoft and Google and everybody else that develops software. And the average time for most people to update is around 82 days. Some people would say that it's a lot better than it used to be. It used to be years that people would wait to update their computers. So we're definitely seeing this get better, but really 2 weeks, month is really kind of your max timeline for putting in updates because it just doesn't take the hackers very long to exploit something that's considered a 0 day, something we didn't know about that suddenly comes up. And it's preventable, right? It's something that's preventable. So no, we're not going back to trying to get into college. SAT does not stand for a college entrance exam in this case. SAT stands for Security Awareness Training. Regular training of people's staff really has a dramatic effect on people clicking on the wrong things, going to bad websites, putting their information in places they shouldn't, and things like that. So what we see is about 74% of data breaches are caused by users just not knowing that they can be attacked, right? Them being unaware of, hey, someone might send me an email that makes me click on something that then gives them an avenue into my device, PC, Mac, Linux device, right? Regular security awareness training, like I said, dramatic effect, right? You can reduce your risk from about 60% down to 10%. That's a huge, gigantic risk mitigation factor that is something that's easily done and can be normally managed and maintained in, 10 to 15 minutes of training per month, which we think is a great trade-off for having a better risk profile in your business. And security incidents can be reduced with 70% with consistent SAT implementation. So that first stat is we see a drop from 60 to 10 in the first 12 months, but continued, you see that even go higher of, like a lot more people not clicking on things that they aren't supposed to. And really, it's crucial to protect your people and profits this way. It's the only way. Unfortunately, the human is still the weakest link in a lot of our security mechanisms, and it is best to protect them by making sure they know what can attack them. So MFA, another buzzword here, is sometimes called 2FA, but this is multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication. 99% of all business email compromises can be blocked by a simple MFA request. So this is typically a push to your an app on your phone or a text message or some other secondary factor authentication being asked for, normally a 6-digit number. Sometimes they're a little bit longer or different. And when those come in, you're verifying that you are who you say you are, because the bad guys won't necessarily know what that number is unless they have that app installed with the same secret key that you already have, which is very, very challenging to do. So it only takes a couple extra seconds. If you're and likely it's the most effectual way to prevent an attack. So don't succumb to MFA fatigue, where you get MFA requests over and over again. It could be a bad guy trying to get into your system. So in a case where we have a client that is like, I don't know why, but my MFA just keeps asking me over and over again to log in, it means somebody has your password, right? And they're trying to access your systems. Now, hopefully, because you didn't do it and you don't know what's going on, you find out what's going on before you take the next step of just approving that. Because what the bad guys are looking for is for you to just always click yes, please go in to that system, right? And then any account, always sign up for multi-factor authentication. It doesn't matter if it's your social media or your shopping apps, or if something is not as innocuous as your, bank. I should hope you would all put it on your bank. The idea is that if the website offers it or the social media platform offers it, you should always turn it on, because the bad guys could use your account to infect your friends or family or others that are in your trusted network that would primarily believe, if something came from you, that they should in fact oh yeah, this is coming from, Bob. Bob's my best friend. Why would he not, why would he send me something that's wrong, right? If you're protected like that in your social media accounts and your emails and all the places you do business online, then it's really hard for the bad guys to use those things. And if they get your password from the dark web or something like that, again, it's not really going to allow them to make that connection into the system. They're going to get blocked because they don't have that second factor authentication. So this is MDR for short, or Manage, Detect, Respond. And this is a form of managing when a cyber incident occurs, and making sure that it's detected and responded to in a very timely manner. So 90% of passwords can be cracked in less than an hour. And most hacking events are detected and blocked in less than 30 minutes with most MDR platforms. That requires someone managing and monitoring for security events 24/7 by 365. It detects something called lateral movement. That's where a bad guy gets into a system and then tries to move around the network to garner more information and or data to either exfiltrate, steal, or lock up so you can't do business. And we respond by isolating the bad guys before they can do damage. So an MDR takes automatic actions most of the time. An AI reviews a system level request and says, hey, this seems out of the norm. Like this user normally doesn't launch a program from Microsoft Word. That would be very uncommon for a user to do. So a human would review that and take a look at it and then decide or determine, hey, we think this machine is having some kind of incident. We want to isolate it, lock it down so that they can't do anything else with that machine. This coupled with traditional antivirus and endpoint detection and response can be a very effective way of layering security so it's harder for the bad guys to really move around. So the next one is mobile device security. 54% of phishing links were clicked on from a mobile device, right? So it's that slow down, take a minute, look at what you're actually paying attention to, not just the scroll and click kind of actions. A lot of people are reporting what are called smishing attacks. So this is an attack that comes through a text and it gets you to click on something or go to a link or just respond, build a system of trust over some period of time that then eventually allows you to be hacked in some way, shape, or form. So what we try and have people do here is really stay informed, right? Regularly educate yourself on the latest smishing attacks and trends. For instance, the FBI has warned about paying highway tolls online or by phone. This is actually something that's happening right now. The bad guys are utilizing these toll booths that are mostly electronic now and are saying, hey, you went through a toll booth that you owe money for, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I did something wrong. I got to fix that. And so there's some urgency and feeling that something bad is going to happen because we don't do that. And so it's really, really important that you actually stay on top of these types of things. The other one that's really, really common is a fake donation site. It's election season. Regardless of what side of the political spectrum you're on, you will get a donation coming through text from various political parties. And they seem like they're, the correct thing, but in reality, they're bad guys trying to either steal money or find ways to ingrain themselves more into your accounts so that they can take over more things. So it's funny. Most people know about antivirus for their computers. They don't realize that that's something also that they can and should use for their mobile devices. It wasn't something you needed before, but given the way people are attacking mobile devices more and more, it's highly recommended that you have some kind of antivirus sitting on your mobile device to make sure that it's protected. I mean, remember, a mobile device now is really just a very small computer. So it does all the same things that your desktop computer can do for the most part in going to the internet and browsing and clicking on links and things like that. So we kind of have to protect it the same way. And then verify the source. A lot of times, again, it's about slowing down, taking a minute, looking at what's there and reading it, because your bank probably isn't asking you to click on a link in a text. If they ask for any kind of personal ID info in a text, it's likely a scam or a smish. You really need to protect yourself from clicking on those links that are going to get you down a rabbit hole of either a ransomware event or an account takeover. So one of the other really important things that you can do to protect yourself from hackers is kind of knowing where your weaknesses are. So security assessments are really key in making sure you understand those 3 bullet points: understanding your data, identifying vulnerabilities, and figuring out how to be cost efficient with them. So understanding your data is knowing what the critical data is, where the critical data is, and who has access to it. Oftentimes, we kind of give data out to everybody and we don't worry about that so much. But there are many, many occasions that a low-level employee that is doing line work has access to things and systems that they don't really need access to, and that creates a security vulnerability and a larger possibility for a larger attack rather than being something contained and a limited blast radius, we like to say. It's also great in identifying known vulnerabilities that point us to weaknesses that can be exploited. And then depending on the exploit and what that weakness is, we can start to prioritize what needs to be fixed, how quickly, and manage all of that in a really cost-effective way. And honestly, knowing your data and how to mitigate risk, you can avoid a much larger breach and recovery cost. Think of it this way. A line worker that is doing a day in, day out job might have a small amount of data on there you wouldn't want getting out, but it's probably not your entire server worth of data or all of the data in your SharePoint site. It's a minimal set, so that blast radius is relatively small, right? It's not going to affect everyone, but if you have data everywhere and it's unknown and you have vulnerabilities in your systems and it's unknown, the problem is you have to act like the entire system was compromised. So that may open you up to a much larger breach and recovery cost. So this next one is called log management. So log management is really about taking in data from various security mechanisms, whether that be firewalls or switches or your desktop or your antivirus or any of the security tools that most people layer in to protect their systems. When we look at those, we gather all that data. We call it the telemetry of the security systems in general. And what we're able to do is we're able to start to detect and respond to things when they might be a security incident, because we're looking at the behaviors of what's in those logs. So a lot of people will kind of get log management as a theme that's mentioned in a lot of insurance, cybersecurity, liability insurance forms these days. And really what it boils down to is I can see more things more quickly and have them analyzed in a way that protects me from accidentally letting something go, because all of that telemetry for a human is really, really hard to cull down into something that's actionable. What we use the AI for is really kind of narrowing that funnel, narrowing that data down to, hey, this really does look like some kind of security incident, and we can start to deter and protect against it from getting bigger, right? It also helps with compliance and regulatory requirements. We talked a little bit about cybersecurity liability insurance. Really emphasizes having some kind of SIEM or log management, and then it also enhances visibility for troubleshooting. So it's much easier to find a problem when I have all this really rich telemetry and data that I can go in, look at, and determine, oh, hey, this thing's happening here or there, or against all these users or against this one user. So there's a lot of benefits to retaining some kind of log management. So web gateway security. So I kind of referenced this when we were talking about firewalls. It's really, web gateway security is all about protecting you on the internet from bad actors. So every time you go to a website or click a link, there is a chance that that website has been hijacked or taken over or has some kind of malicious code running on it, whether the the owner of that website intended that or not, it's very possible that bad actors can compromise that site, and then by you going to it, you are now compromised, right? So that's really what we're trying to protect when we're using web gateway security. It's kind of like a firewall specifically for the web and your device, and ultimately you, right? Because every time you go out on the web, the security will go out and analyze what you're going to with a high sense of accuracy and block anything that looks malicious. So when putting these in place, we see around a 70% reduction in successful malware and phishing attacks with the use of advanced web gateways. So this prevents the attack from even coming in. So your antivirus, your EDR, your MDR isn't even operating on this. We're saying that this gateway is looking at a large amount of data coming from a bunch of different security vendors that says, hey, we know this is bad. Don't go here, right? So it's kind of like a signpost. Hey, caution, rocks falling. That's exactly what we're talking about. So it's really great because if it never gets into your system, it never has to be dealt with from the PC or the component level, your device level. Now you're protected that much better from having someone that got in and we stopped an attack, but they may have dropped a backdoor in, right? 96% of malicious web traffic can be detected and blocked. So there is a ton of security vendors out there that do information sharing and have this new, what they call zero trust network access approach. So it's a great way to kind of say, hey, I don't care who you are. I don't care where you came from. If you're not trusted right now in this moment, I'm not going to allow you to do something. And this really, really helps with, think about how quickly we read through emails and we click on a link, right? It's that same kind of concept of it slows you down. It makes sure that you're making good choices and decisions and not just automatically clicking on something because oh, hey, that's Bob and I need to go there. I don't care that it came from Bob. I really want to, I don't trust anybody or anything, and I'm going to go verify that before I go click that link, right? So encryption, this is again one of the fundamental ones. If you own a laptop and really even any kind of computing device, the hard drive should be encrypted. Data should be encrypted at rest, in motion, and on mobile devices. It's really key in preventing a lost or stolen device from becoming a time bomb, right? Where now a bad guy has access to it. All they have to do is crack your username and password, and voila, they're now inside the device and can see everything. And sometimes they don't even need your username or password. There are ways to take a laptop, take that hard drive out, hook it up to a different machine, and fool that hard drive into thinking, hey, I can give you the data on there. But if you have that data encrypted at rest, when you plug that into that other machine, the other machine's going to go, whoa, I don't know what this device is. It's bogus. It doesn't have any usable data on it. You should format it, because once it's encrypted, only the computer that it's tied to has the ability to read the data off that hard drive. It's also why we use secure encryption packets to send things over the internet. We're always encrypting data that's in motion between our computer and the wider internet. And that's just a fundamental strategy. So always encrypt wherever possible. It does add a little bit of overhead to machines and devices, but it's something that's well worth the small amount of overhead that it adds. So dark web research. So 75% of companies have some of their data available on the dark web. This most recent breach with United Healthcare through a third-party provider basically is being said to have been one of the most massive releases of data within the continental United States. They're estimating that the bad guys got around half the US population's data, including their health information, their social security numbers, medical identification numbers, addresses, phone numbers, and various other pieces of data that may have been contained in the United Healthcare databases. So your information, if it's not there already, may be there very soon on the dark web. And the dark web isn't really that dark. You just have to know how to get there. These are just things that live on the internet that do not have any DNS or other search mechanisms to find them. You have to know how to get to them. So a bad guy, it isn't something that's hidden away from everybody. Anybody can get to the dark web if they want to. The dark web is just not easily found. That's why it's called the dark web. And then 60% of companies have a higher risk of suffering a data breach when their data is on the dark web. So, as you go through and do that cybersecurity risk assessment and really understanding where your risks lie, one of the things that happens in that, or should happen in that, is doing some dark web research on your staff, on your email addresses, on your website. And what we often find is most companies have some amount of information on the dark web that can be used to figure out how to crack passwords, log in as someone that they are not, and then perform some kind of ransom event or extortion for data release and things like that. So it's really, really easy to have your information on the dark web, and you probably didn't do anything wrong to get it there. You trusted a company, that company had a breach of some type, that information was released. Think about Home Depot, think about United Healthcare, like I talked about, where these are massive releases of data out into the world. So lastly is the last tip we have for you is this can all be a little daunting. None of what we talked about previously was something that was all that challenging or difficult to do, but there's a lot of pieces and layers. There's a lot of making sure that all those layers and pieces work together. So the kind of the 15th and final tip is Sirinc. We do this for a living. It's what we do. We believe that people and process and technology are the key to having a secure, efficient, growing business. We always maintain a cyber-first mindset that helps keep your business and people protected. And that's not just our mindset. We push that mindset to you. We aren't some outsourced team. We're here to ensure your growth, not just keep you up and running. And we're here for the long haul. We pride ourselves on being a team of solutionists, and we make tech work, and communication is the foundation of everything we do. And we would love the opportunity to help identify and figure out if we're a good fit to help you put some of these protections in place to better secure your digital world. So where do we go from here? As I kind of alluded to, you can try and piece this together yourself. It's possible. Lots of people do it. You probably will need some kind of internal IT department. And you can spend months, sometimes years, trying to fit all these pieces together, and still you might miss some high-risk vulnerability. Or you can partner with a qualified team of professionals like Strategic Information Resources, where we have the expertise and the understanding to really go in, put these mechanisms in place, protect you, report on them, and make sure you're protected, your people and profits are protected from hackers. So what's the next step? So we want you to book a cybersecurity kind of Q&A, something that you can show up to, and we can just discuss, like, what's your strategy for cybersecurity? How are you managing your risk today? And what are some of the things that we can do to help you do that? You can book that session here with this link. We also dropped it in the chat. Feel free to click on it. Yes, it's a good link, I promise, I swear. But you can double check it if you like. And we can answer your questions or talk more about some of these strategies in depth. And I don't see any questions that have come through the Q&A. Let me just check chat real quick. And it doesn't look like there's anything in chat other than our booking your first time appointment and getting to know us. So with that, I think that we are at the end of our webinar. I really appreciate you coming today and hearing more about the 15 cyber defenses that you can easily implement to help protect your people and your profits from hackers. Thank you very much and have a great day.